One of those was hosting our sustainability summit, and hopefully all of you got a chance to either participate. I know that there's several of you are participating in that, or got a chance to tune in. And if you haven't, it's on Naleo TV, so you can go back and watch the entire sustainability summit online. Some great stuff, and I really think that's really important, because that's going to be kind of the framework for how we move through this administration. So a lot of great things came out of that. I see Ilahia, who's there with us, who was the MC. Thank you so much, Ilahia, for all the great work that you did. And I think that we're going to be talking about that just a little bit more as we go on. Some of the other promises we made was start to make some improvements to our permitting process. And while not everything is done, we have started, and we're making some great headway. Both Sendo Kern, our planning director, and Ikaika Rodenhurst, our public works director, have been working pretty tirelessly on that. We have had several meetings, and there's actually a lot of progress. We also met with the permitting committee, and I think we're going to be talking a little bit about that a little bit later on. I can tell you that we've looked at projects, and we've actually moved projects through. As a matter of fact, the latest one was this morning. We had a project out there in Kona that was stuck for about 3 years. We got together with everybody, including the developers, and that project is now moving forward, which will make sure that we're employing a lot of people as they do some of the work. Putting together a team was a big goal of mine. And you know, I am so fortunate and blessed to have the team that I have. I put them through the test. You know, about a month in, I had a heart attack to really test them. They got to handle things while I was out, and did just an amazing job. It was a really humbling situation. You realize how little you're needed as the mayor when you have great people who are doing great work, and a lot of them are here. And so you'll be hearing from them. A big part of that team was breaking the silos. And so we've started making great inroads in breaking those silos. People have been pretty amazed that we have our planning director and our public works director attending a lot of meetings together, working collaboratively to solve problems. I know Susan's on board, Susan Coons from our housing. She's been doing some great work working together with everybody, and you know, the team has really come together. I'll just give a plug for John Barnett, who is one of our sponsors today. He's helping with leadership training, and he's been meeting with our team, which was another actually thing that we talked about during the campaign. So we've already started some leadership training with the directors and the deputy directors and everybody else, moving that forward. Those are some of the things that we talked about. Some of the promises that we made. I'm pretty proud to say that, you know, those 100-day promises that we talked about, almost all of them, if not all of them, have been either completed or are very much in the works. The permitting process is one of those things that is taking a little bit of time, but we're looking at a system, the InterGov system, that needs some fixing, and that will go into effect on July 26th. So we talked about our great team. I think what I'm going to do is stop talking, and I know that you have questions for our team, so I'm going to turn it back over to you guys to ask some questions of our team. Look forward to this afternoon, and thank you for everything that you do.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Roth. All right. Nice opening. Yeah, we do have lots of questions. And today what we're going to be doing is a panel, 6 different panels, and we have about 10 minutes each. And those discussions will be about Hawaii Island's economic recovery, Hawaii County's budget, the visitor industry, permitting, homelessness, and we will get our highlights and a recap of the Sustainability Summit. The panelists that we have from the county include the mayor, he's on all the panels, and Deputy Managing Director Bobby Kaman, Police Chief Paul Ferreira, Research and Development Director Doug Adams. We also have Research and Development Deputy Director Solma Gandhi, Director of Finance Deanna Sacco, Civil Defense Director Talmadge Magno, Housing Director Susan Coons, Planning Director Zendo Kern, Public Works Deputy Director Merrick Nishimoto, Executive Assistant to the Mayor Jane Clement, and Executive Assistant to the Mayor Kate Logan. Our moderators for today are a group of business and community leaders, and today we're just going to claim them as our own because they are very engaged and very much a part of the Kona-Kohala Chamber in the roles that they serve. And this includes Chair-elect and Permitting Task Force Chair, Dennis Boyd. He's also actually our Chamber Member of the Year. And we also have Government Affairs Committee Chair, Jackie Hoover, our fearless leader, our Economic Development Committee Chair, Ross Wilson, who's done an amazing job throughout this year with that team. We also have members from our committees. So Stephanie Donahoe will also be with us as a moderator. She's a member of our Government Affairs Committee and our Economic Development Committee, along with Ross Birch, who is also a member of our Economic Development Committee, and our Homelessness Task Force member, Natasha Alla, and our Young Professionals Leadership Council co-chair, Ilahia Johnson. And we know that these people are out and about and members of many different boards and do all kinds of wonderful things in our community. And we do thank them for the service to the Kona-Kohala Chamber. I also wanted to make mention of this beautiful backdrop that you see with the panelists and moderators. This was an image taken by our own member, Kirk Short Photography. And it's also the cover to this year's Source magazine, which is our annual business magazine and member directory sent to all our members. And this year we sent it to all businesses in West Hawaii. And there's a really nice digital version that you can access from our website. It's on all the footers of all of our web pages. All right, so at this time, we've heard from the mayor, and we're gonna start with our Hawaii Island Economic Recovery Panel. And if the panelists and what I'll do is I'll stop sharing. And if all the panelists could actually go ahead and introduce themselves on that panel. So it's the first panel, Hawaii Island Economic Recovery. So we know it's Mitch Roth. And then Doug, if you want to do a brief introduction.
So Doug Adams, Director for Research and Development in the county. And pleased to be here. I've had an opportunity to talk to many of you that are on here already, so I won't go into all the detail that's associated with the bio. We'll save that for the conversation.
All right, and then if we could have our Government Affairs Committee Chair, Jackie, could you introduce yourself?
Aloha, Jackie Hoover. Glad to be here and looking forward to the discussion.
And Economic Development Committee Chair.
Good morning, Ross Wilson. Happy to be here. Aloha.
Great. All right, so if you guys want to take it away.
So good morning, everybody. I'll start with the first question. Hawaii Island's economic recovery is top of mind for our business community. And later in the program, we'll talk about our visitor industry and economic recovery. But at this time, can our two panelists give us a general overview of how our Hawaii County is, is tackling economic recovery now?
I would never speak in front of the mayor.
Go ahead, Doug.
Right. So the first thing we have to focus on is getting people back to work. right? That's a kind of a no-brainer piece of this, right? But so how do we do this, right? We take a look at where folks aren't working, that's part of it. We know that long-term, we're going to have to be performing the learning, unlearning, relearning aspect of the training for a new diversified economy that will be part of what we want Hawaii Island to be. But before we can get there, we have to make sure that we are getting our people that have not been working back to work. We are doing, we know that in the hospitality sector in particular, that depends on us being able to get not just visitors, ones and twos and families in, which is happening. And the hospitality sector, our hotels and resorts are doing a marvelous job at keeping everybody safe, following the protocols. We know that because we haven't seen huge, really, I haven't heard of any clusters associated with that. There may have been one or two, but it's really been well done in that regard. But the other piece is that we have to begin to get our group meetings, our association meetings back in, because that's how we begin to bring back our employees that really support that. So it's been really great to hear yesterday at your economic development, or on Tuesday at your EDC meeting, you know, how we are at a very high percentage comparative to where we've been over the last year in terms of the occupancy rates in the hotels and the resorts, which means then that we have likewise the number of folks that are employed. We know it won't stay there necessarily. This is a spring break issue, but it is a good portion of that to see that happening, because that just moves through everything else, right? It's all the businesses, it's all the restaurants, all of those things are associated with that. The other thing, if I may, Mayor, has to do with understanding where the funds are coming from. So we know that we are getting federal support. We know that having that cash roam around inside the island's economy is going to be a good thing. And we want to make sure that there are opportunities for folks to be able to spend the money that they do get, because people want to support our local businesses. And so when they have the opportunity to do that, we want to make sure that those businesses are available for them. We know that in our urban areas, generally, we're doing pretty well. There is a focus that I have on making sure we don't lose the small number, but the very important number of small businesses that we have in some of our smaller towns and villages around the island. Those are really, really important to make sure that we don't lose those as well. Mayor?
Yeah, let me just jump in. You know, in addition to what Doug is saying, we need to make sure we're getting people back to work in the safest manner. And right now with COVID, we need to get over this where we're at and stop the spread. And really that means we need to start getting people vaccinated. So in the next probably month or so, we're going to be probably coming out to the chambers and to everybody else, asking for all of your support to help people get vaccinated. I got my vaccination shot the other day. It doesn't hurt that much. No real side effects, but it's going to be really important that we get to herd immunity, or at least to some semblance of herd immunity, and get everybody vaccinated. And really that's going to be all of our kuleana to do. In addition to what Doug talked about with making sure our hospitality, the other thing we're doing is we're trying to streamline our permitting process, which we talked about a little bit, because we know that if we can get people into businesses quicker, and our building industry going, we can also start getting our economic diversification going a little bit quicker as well.
We do want to make sure that we don't forget that we do have some strengths that have been happening. Construction has been very, very strong. We want to make sure that we continue to see that happening. We know that shovel-ready projects, I guess we'll probably talk about that, are really, really important, not just in terms of the physical infrastructure, but also some of our digital infrastructure, which is tied to a real opportunity here for us to take a look at making sure that our economy is one of equity, and takes care of the well-being and health of our residents and visitors.
Go, Jackie.
Great, thank you. So one of the things that we've learned through the pandemic is the issue of digital access and equity, and the need for broadband to be at the forefront, especially in rural Hawaii Island communities. Digital connectivity is obviously essential, whether we're talking about business, healthcare, education, other important functions. Last month, the County Council passed Resolution 43. Could you elaborate on the actions outlined and the actions that the administration is taking and plans to take?
So for us, the key to that is really a digital equity aspect, right? Making sure that we're signed on to support this. When it comes to the actions that the administration is taking, our Director of Information Technology and our Energy Coordinator in particular have been involved with the broadband hui, something that many of you, especially you, Jackie, are well familiar with and the work that they're doing. We know that there are funds coming to support broadband infrastructure, and we're looking at focusing those funds initially in the areas which would never see it for a long, long time. So for us, initially, that's some of the outer reaches in Puna and in Ka'u. There are conversations that have been going on. Some of those briefings actually have occurred to your chamber by our broadband and digital partners in the private sector. There's more that we need to do in terms of the partnering of that. But as the funds become available, initially the broadband backbone will be associated with Director Rodenhurst and Deputy Director Nishimoto's department. What happens in the highway system and our ability to connect, at least provide a backbone that then the private sector can build off of that. And so we know that that is just really, really important. And so that's the focus for us in the broadband area.
Great,
And
thank you.
Yeah, in addition, we're working with the state government where they have some funds to actually help some of this stuff happen.
Thank you.
We'll segue to agriculture. What are the county's plans to help our agriculture businesses so that we can have better food security and be more sustainable?
I think that the mayor wants to say something he did yesterday.
What did I
So
do
yesterday, the mayor stood back up the Agricultural Advisory Commission that has been not really meeting all that much. So it's an advisory commission to the mayor. I have the agricultural and food access coordinator. I have the agricultural specialist and food access coordinator in my department. They have been working to put together the format for the commission, make sure that if it was working before, keep it. If there are some things that we needed to adjust to it, then we were going to do that. We briefed the mayor and he approved the time to move ahead along with Executive Assistant Pomai Bartolome. So yes, Wendy.
You're on mute,
muted.
Wendy.
You're muted.
Sorry, that was an okay for Ross, but yeah, we probably should. Thank you, Doug. That's a great explanation and important to many of our businesses, but we probably got to go to the next question.
Okay,
I'm talking too much, Wendy. That's what you're telling me.
so I'm going to actually talk about water and housing and development. Water being the #1 deterrent to housing and other development. And while the county recognizes the need and demand for housing, in fact, for several decades, water development has been done by the private sector. Are there any plans for water resource development by the county?
Jackie, I noticed that Kavika Uehara is actually on the call. And though I could answer this with information that his boss has given me, perhaps Keith would actually like to save us all time and just be straightforward.
That would be great.
Okay, hi, this is Keith Okamoto,
there's
Manager
Keith.
Chief Engineer.
Hi, Keith.
Yeah, so real quickly, sorry, but that's not true, 100% accurate. For example, in Kona, over the past 2 decades, 3 wells were built by private and 2 were done by DWS. We've actually had a number of projects that we've done in the region. And I won't go into too much detail, but moving forward, we do want to share that we do have 3 wells that we're working on. And in various stages, mostly in the planning and the preliminary engineering stages at this point. But we'll continue to push those forward. And we're continually also looking at ways to improve other components of the infrastructure, including transmission, storage, which all kind of enhance the capacity and redundancy in our systems. So stay tuned. We have more projects on the way. We currently in Kohala, we have the Halaula well, storage tank and transmission water line under construction right now. So that'll help us in the Hawi area of North Kohala. But other than that, there's some other projects and whatnot, but I know you guys are more interested in the source development. So that's pretty much what's happening in the Kona to Kohala areas.
Great, thank you, Keaton. Thank you for the confirmation. We're gonna jump ahead and because we were talking about diversification of the island's economy, one of the things that is of interest to our chamber and one of the top priorities is astronomy. And we're wondering if you can make some comments on your administration regarding the astronomy industry at large and the development of the 30-meter telescope.
So, I will say that, we support astronomy, we support, diversification of our economy. We think that astronomy is a great way to provide jobs to keep our kids here. One of my promises was that we want to create an island where our kids can raise their kids and their kids can raise their kids. To me, one of the biggest jobs for the future, or some of the biggest jobs for the future, are in STEM related industries: science, technology, engineering, and math. And I think astronomy gives us an advantage that we don't have anyplace else. You've probably heard me say this, but we've had some of our people from our telescopes mentoring our kids. One of those people is one of your board of directors, Doug Simons. And I love this quote that having a Doug Simons mentoring your kids is like having Michael Jordan teach your kids basketball. That's the advantage that we have on this island with astronomy. And I think we need to really look at keeping jobs here. And that is one opportunity for us.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, so much. We're gonna go to our next panel discussion. Our next panel discussion will be about the budget. There's probably some overlap here, but again, we're gonna have Ross and Jackie moderate, and we'll have the mayor and director of finance, Deanna Sacco. Thank you, Doug.
So the American Rescue Plan is providing an estimated $38 million directly to Hawaii County. Please provide some examples of near, mid, and long-term impact proposals for deployment of these funds.
So I think, the number is anywhere between 36 and 39 million that we're going to be receiving. Department of Treasury hasn't confirmed those numbers yet, but we will be receiving half somewhere within the next 60 days. And then the second half a year after that, or no less than a year after that. So we won't be getting it all up front. And the bulk of it is really going to go towards providing or the needs or relief for the COVID preventions that we're doing right now, whether that's testing at the airport and making sure, visitors are COVID-free, or making sure our residents are returning COVID-free. We'll continue with those testing programs and just the other sanitation and PPE and other things that need to happen, with COVID that we didn't have to deal with before. So it's kind of going to cover those additional expenditures that we've been incurring.
So Deanna, is Hawaii County expecting additional American Rescue Plan funding from the state of Hawaii?
We are hoping so. We've been in close contact with them. They have not yet developed their complete plan. That first, the 38, 39 million we're just talking about, that's the only piece coming directly to the county. But they're also going to be receiving money for rent and mortgage relief. And both when we got our CARES Act money and then the December money, we did get some money in December for emergency rental assistance. And the state got additional funds for that. And they're giving us part of that Susan and her team at Housing are, getting out into the community. So I am sure that those, like especially the rent and mortgage relief will probably be funneling through the county, but we haven't heard their exact plans yet. There's about $6 billion coming to the state of Hawaii through this plan. So we're also hoping that under vaccine and testing and some of those other buckets of money that we'll also be getting our portion, but hasn't been confirmed yet.
Let us know how we can help you get more of those state funds to our county.
Yes.
And how much of the county budget is based on the expected ARP funding? And what are the plans for filling funding gaps after the pandemic funding, excuse me?
So right now, we have not used that money to balance the budget. When the March 1st budget went in, we're relying on our normal sources of revenue. But it is going to kind of, after all of our expenses have been completed, then if we were to be short and we still had additional costs related to coronavirus or COVID-19, we would rely on our disaster fund. And the voters did approve that 1% of the real property tax revenue be transferred to the disaster fund each year. So that's an increase of $3.2 million this year. So we'll be just under 3.5 million will be going to the disaster fund. So we would rely on the disaster fund if additional costs were needed to combat COVID.
Jackie?
Great. Mayor and Deanna, the transient accommodations taxes, we've heard that it's unlikely that the legislature will be sharing this with the counties again this year. What are your plans for filling this particular funding gap? And is there anything we can do to help with this?
I don't know if the mayor wants to say something, but TAT is one of the things that actually we battle with them all the time. And I know many of you have been supportive over the years in allowing us to keep that funding here on our island. So historically, the most recent numbers had been a little over 19 million that we were getting. But in the current fiscal year, we were already told we weren't going to be receiving any of it. And the same expectation is true for next fiscal year. But part of that is not so much that there are many bills before the legislature, and I guess we don't know which ones may or may not pass. But part of the expectation for the zero is just we don't anticipate that the state is going to collect enough to hit the county's level. So they would have to collect $97 million in TAT just to cover the first obligations. And then the counties are the second tier. And so for us to get anything, they would have to collect over 97 million. So just to put it in perspective, in the current fiscal year from July to December, the state has collected $34 million, I believe. So we're not sure that they're actually going to hit those targets that they would be able to pass along any to us. I think that American Recovery Plan has definitely going to help the state's budget. So some of the things we were worried we might not be receiving from them, we're hoping they won't be, keeping our share just to help balance their budget. So hopefully TAT, they will share, but we're just not sure they're going to collect enough in the coming year.
Great, thank you.
And Deanna, maybe we can talk about some of the ways we made up for that. We did put in a bare bones budget, but you were still short. So we had to do some things. And so Deanna, maybe you can talk about some of those.
So one of the big things that, not just for us, but for all the counties and the state A big payment is the other post-employment benefits or the retiree medical insurance payments. And state law requires us to pay that full amount for both our retirees as well as a portion for our current employees. So the state law for that was suspended in the governor's proclamation, and that amount was very close to the amount that we were collecting in TAT. So that's what's helping us to balance for both last year and this year. But in addition, you know, departments all made sacrifices. They're dealing with basically the minimum, you know, amount they can to run the departments, given that we're in COVID right now. So,
Thank you.
mhm.
Ross?
Jackie, we're going to segue back to you for the last question.
Great, thank you. Mayor and perhaps Doug and Deanna, could you tell us what shovel-ready CIP are currently in the works for Hawaii County and what long-term projects you're looking at? And I guess focus on West Hawaii because the whole island would take more time than you have.
So I'll start this. I know that we're working on a lot of roads and infrastructure kind of things, but probably the long term, we're probably going to have to put a lot of funding into our wastewater system. We've been having a lot of conversations on, you know, our infrastructure there, and hopefully we'll get some grant funds to help us, or we get some changes in our state legislation. There's a case named the Kono case. Not sure if many of you heard that before, but it basically prevents, you know, using outside of union workers for things. And we're looking at public-private partnerships and building our wastewater facilities because they can run anywhere between 160 and $200 million, which is quite a bit of our budget. And so we're looking at other options. Hopefully we can get some federal funds to do that, but working on things such as the Kona-Kohala wastewater facility. And I know Ramsey's on, we may be talking about that a little bit later on. Deanna and Doug, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, thank you, Mayor, is so, as many of you know, or maybe most of you know, the lands that are available are actually not just county lands. So there's state, there's DHHL. These are, anytime you start talking about infrastructure projects that may involve transitions between places, then you're talking about a variety of conversations. And so it becomes, there are opportunities there, but those conversations take a while to actually occur. And frankly, we have to make sure that we're taking into account all of the, you know, the SHPE as well as the cultural concerns when you're moving forward into these areas. So that's just, I guess, talking about the color of the pot. But the fact is that when we start looking at infrastructure beyond what the mayor was talking about, if it's associated with business and trying to diversify and in this revitalization, it's going to be a conversation that looks at what are our next levels of the economy, and long-term energy is going to be one of those. And so that'll be some of the other areas that we go.
Thank you.
And Deanna and Mr. Mayor, we'll end this section with one last question. Is there anything else you would like to share about the county budget that would be important to our West Hawaii business community?
You know, I think we try to work with everyone. And one of the challenges we've noticed this year is there are a few businesses, you know, that are struggling to make their real property tax payments. We've reached out to as many as we could, but if any of you are in one of those businesses, please call our property tax. We're more than willing to work out a payment plan or to do, we do one-time waivers of penalty and interest. So it's better to pay a little bit each month than to get so deep in a hole that it's hard to dig out of. So we definitely want you to work with us. We're more than happy to help any way we can, and even have our appraisers look to see if there's a program that you might qualify for or something like that. So we just really want to work with everyone. Many businesses have contacted us and we've worked with them, and so a lot of people are current. We're very appreciative. Those who could pay have paid, which has allowed us to help give payment plans to the businesses that couldn't pay. We know a lot of people are struggling, and we just want it to be a team effort.
And with that, our section is complete, and we'll turn it back to Wendy and the visitor industry.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you all. That was a lot of good content, and I'm sure very relevant to our members. So next we're going to do our panel discussion on the West Hawaii visitor industry. So we're going to have our panelists again, Mayor Mitch Roth, Research and Development Director Doug Adams, and Civil Defense Director Talmadge Magno. And then we have our moderators. We have Stephanie Donahoe and Ross Birch representing the Kona-Kohala Chamber. Take it away, Stephanie and Ross.
Aloha. Thank you very much, Mayor Roth, and thank you, Doug, for all the work that you've done so far to address, as you said earlier, the group discussion. So many of our businesses who are members of the Kona-Kohala Chamber actually benefit from those big group meetings, from the tour operators to the dive shops to the retail merchants. And so that's incredibly important. And I know Wendy is going to send out a link for those groups that are looking for exemptions. Thank you for making that process happen. I want to talk specifically about the Safe Travels program. And could you please share with us your timeline for reopening inter-island travel without restrictions, both for Kama'aina visitors as well as for residents, and particularly for this audience, for business owners that are traveling to their operations on other islands?
Sure. Stephanie, the Safe Travels actually comes under the governor. And so those decisions are, really the governor's to make. That being said, the state is looking at opening inter-island travel on April 15th. That is the discussions that we're having right now. It's not an official date, but I think that is a date that they are looking at. And so that's the best date I can give you.
It's fabulous. Thank you. That at least we know that you're in the discussions with him on that process. But as we see new funding sources come in, we don't know if that will change the calculus. So could you address the funding that was just approved, the federal stimulus funding and the money that's coming into Hawaii County? In the opening comments, there was an extension, perhaps. Deanna was saying about perhaps funding more of the airport testing for that. Do you see that traveling beyond March? And if so, for how long do you anticipate we'll be having those second tests at the Kona and Hilo airports?
So I do foresee it going past March, probably into April. The general comments that we've got back on the secondary testing have generally been pretty positive, and our numbers have been relatively low compared to the rest of the state, and of course the rest of the United States. We're looking at different tests that may be a little bit better, that close the gap a little bit. But at this stage, we found well over 100 cases at the airport, which, if you look at the way this virus spreads, that could have been over 1,000 cases. And, we've been very lucky on this island. I don't want to jinx it, but we've had very few deaths recently. I think in the last 10 weeks or so on this island. So we do believe that's working. We also believe that everybody working together, wearing masks, distancing, and doing everything else, including taking vitamin D and getting out in the sun is also helping our islands over here.
So just to recap then, what I heard you say in both comments is that in the next 5 to 6 weeks, we might have a different protocol that's in place, both because of the governor's order for inter-island, as well as the testing that's happening at the Kona airport.
That is correct. And by the way, the understanding that we have is that Maui is going to be doing secondary testing. And I think Kauai is also looking at doing secondary testing now, because they've seen the successes that we've had.
Thank you very much. I'll turn it over to Ross Birch to talk about some of your other tourism industry components. Ross, you might be muted.
Yeah, I got that now. Thank you. So you did cover a little bit of the groups on one of the last discussion there, but we're very pleased to see that there's a process in place now and a protocol for doing that, and also for changing it from 10 to 25 for the outdoor in your latest executive order. So if you could just share the process for requesting the exemption from the County of Hawaii for a business meeting or other group gathering that may exceed the current size limitations.
Yeah, if Talmadge is on, Talmadge really should do this, because it's been his team that has really been carrying the ball on this and making sure that our folks continue to be safe and oversight, frankly, of all of the activities on the island. So I don't know if Talmadge is on.
Talmadge, are you on?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, good. Still morning. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me on. You know, as far as the event applications, all folks have to do is go to the county website, access the Civil Defense's coronavirus page, and they'll see the event application, and they'll just submit. It's a loadable form, so fill it out and submit it. We don't ask for any uploads at that point because we don't want to cause undue hardship on folks. If there's documents that we need to ascertain, whether this event complies or not, we'll just call and ask for the documents. But it's pretty much as simple as that. I've gone through a batch already and reviewed that, and tried to stay on top of it to get folks their answers well ahead of their event plans.
Thanks, Talmadge. I hope you guys understand, and speaking on behalf of our tourism industry, this is a huge step in a direction we need to recover some of that group business that had already been on the books and rolled over many different times. So this process is a great opportunity for us to bring that market back. And we really appreciate all the efforts that the county's put in to make that happen.
Yeah, Ross, let me just make a comment from the county's perspective. We really appreciate, frankly, the patience. And part of this is because, as you can understand, the mayor and the civil defense administrator are, along with the Department of Health, are looking at the things that are necessary to keep us with the numbers that we've had, right? Nobody wants to have an unsafe place. And so they're really looking at that and paying attention to indicators that are not necessarily easy. But at the same time, recognizing that our economy also has to be up there. We have to allow people to work when we can. And so managing that balance is really important. And so your industry has been very patient with this process, and then helped us along, frankly, with understanding what the requirement was going to be. The mitigation plans by the facilities, at least from my vantage point, have been terrific. And we have seen through folks that have actually stayed at those facilities as a part of the Kama-Aina opportunities, how well those facilities are actually doing. So kudos to your team as well. It really is both sides making sure that this is working.
Thank you.
Very much.
Hey, Ross, this is Talmadge again. I'd like to add a few more things. To make this happen, it's going to be very critical that those folks taking the responsibility to hold these events, it's going to be up to them whether this is successful or fails. we're not out of the woods yet. Right now, we have 100 active cases on the island. We have over 100 folks being monitored right now. So transmission is in the island. Department of Health is concerned that the vaccines that we've been pushing for so hard, and we still think that's our savior, but they don't know if it's going to be effective on the variant or how well it's going to be effective on the variant. So it all goes back to the preventive measures, that you hold these events, but the preventive measures are going to be key to be followed to make this successful. Even if the variants get in, the preventive measures will get us through. So, it's going to be all on us how successful this is.
No, and it's exactly true. What Doug mentioned about the hotels and the hospitality industry and their protocols, they are taking the responsibilities for themselves, but also the corporations that are the host of these meetings are really the ones that are responsible for their individuals as well. So everybody is feeling that same type of process, and know that it's a extremely large team effort from top to bottom, and they will make sure that their individuals are as safe as possible as well.
All right, thank you.
I think as time concerns, we'll go ahead and wrap our section up there. And thank you very much.
Right. Very good information shared. Thank you so much. And so just so that folks know, we did a survey with our members prior to this event. Many of those questions that our members have had have been answered so far in our panel discussion. And next we're going to move over to permitting. So we're going to have panelists Mayor Mitch Roth and Public Works Deputy Director Merrick Nishimoto, Planning Director Zendo Kern. And for our moderators, we're going to have Dennis Boyd, our Chair-elect and Permitting Task Force Chair. Take it away, Dennis.
Aloha, everybody. Mayor Roth, you've mentioned permitting several times already, and you've been very forthcoming in recent conversations that some of us from the Chamber's Permitting Task Force had with you about the immediate steps that the county's taking to make improvements in the permitting system. Can you tell our audience about some of those immediate steps and where you are in the timing on those?
Sure. One of the things that we've done in permitting is we started looking at what some of the obstacles were. So one of the big obstacles that we saw was that people would get plans back and they wouldn't be told where in the law that was. And so we're requiring both building and planning, if they're going to, I guess, fail somebody on their plans, to tell them where in the law it is. The other thing that we've done for planning is there's department head directors memos that for some reason have become kind of law. So we abolished all of the previous apartment head memos, and moving forward, two things. One, if we're going to make new memos, either they're going to be vetted by the corporation council. If it's going to have the force of law, then it's going to have to go through council rather than just making rules. We've started looking at some of the problems. We talked about silos working together. So we have planning and public works working together. We've started trying to get rid of Manini things. When I was a prosecutor, I used to say that, something is de minimis if it's like a speeding ticket. If someone's driving a mile over, that's de minimis. We were looking at a lot of things, I think, that were de minimis, and we're starting to focus on those things. The other things we're doing is we're trying to get this intergov system up and going. And so there's been a lot of talks and a lot of work that's been going on. And plus we have a different philosophy in both of those departments. The philosophy is now, how do we help people thrive and succeed versus just trying to prohibit people. So there's been lots of talks with the department heads and their people. Not everything is perfect yet, There's still a learning curve that we're going through. But I can say that both Zendo and Ikaika have been doing a great job working with their people and making changes. And I see Zendo's pretty face. I'm gonna let him jump in for a second, and I'm gonna excuse myself for a second. I've got these medical issues that I just gotta take care of for a few moments. I'll be right back. I'll give it to Zendo.
Aloha, everybody. Thank you, Mayor Roth. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. First of all, I'm having to use my phone because for some reason the laptop I'm working on won't show me, but it'll show the background. So that's the beautiful Mauna Kea in the background. So aloha, everybody. Glad to be here. Permitting process improvements. So start with that one. We've basically are streamlining things and more to say no. For example, on West Hawaii specific.
Zendo, we can't hear you. You're breaking up a lot. Maybe I'll switch.
We go to Merrick.
Yeah.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Can
Morning,
you guys hear
Merrick.
me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Merrick Nishimoto. I'm the Deputy Director of Public Works. First off, I just wanted to say very briefly that Ikaika sends his apologies and he won't be able to make it. He has a conflict in his schedule. But I also like to give credit to both Zendo and Ikaika. They have been spearheading and tackling this concern in the community and in the county with the permitting process. And they have been working very hard, both at the administrative level between directors and also engaging staff, both at Public Works and in planning to get some improvements moving forward. I can speak very briefly on some of these talking points, which Ikaika had went over with me this morning. And as far as improvements to the process, as far as Public Works is going, some of the things that we're implementing right now, as we've just heard, is we're pursuing the EnerGov program. We're hoping that the EnerGov program would provide some additional transparency and also communication between the different departments that will prevent some of this silo effect happening. And also, another big thing with the EnerGov program is we're hoping to get concurrent review going with electronic plans. Some of the other things that are happening right now with Public Works to also improve the permitting process is we're trying to hire an additional building permit plan reviewer. That position was posted. I believe we have some names, but it will be happening in the near future that we're hoping to get at least one additional building permit plan reviewer in Kona. And also some of the other things that we're doing right now too is to have training with the staff. Some of the concerns we've heard from the public has been consistency with the comments. And also the other big issue that we've been hearing is sometimes a lack of the staff specifying where in the code they're getting their comments from. So we're handling those right now, and that's what we're trying to address right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, EnerGov is a big deal, as we all know, and it's been long delayed, and you both mentioned that. Can you provide us with some details on the timeline for EnerGov and how the system will be maintained and monitored in the individual county departments that it impacts, DPW and planning? Also, how will you educate the public about this new system, and can the chamber be helpful to you in that?
So a couple things, Merrick, I'll turn it over to you guys in a second. The go live date is going to be July 26th. And, that's going to be a date that we've set in stone. We're burning the boats at the shore. So it's a drop dead date. Some of the problems that we've had with InterGov is there wasn't a lot of resource that were put to it in the last couple of years. We've started putting a lot of resources to it recently, and so things are moving a little bit quicker. One of the things that we're doing in the mayor's office is working together with planning and public works. We have now created 10 videos that will help the public. Once we get to a point where we're ready to have public testing and get the public more involved, we will be putting those videos out for people on the county's website. They'll probably come out, I'm guessing, in the next couple of months because they're just about finished. Merrick, did you want to add anything else?
Yeah, thank you, Mitch. A few things. First of all, I'd like to point out a couple of the people within DPW that have been working tirelessly for years and putting in a lot of effort into this EnerGov system and permitting. A couple of the people I really wanted to point out was Neil Tanaka and Mitchell Okuma. We're here talking about these improvements and these systems, and I really want to make sure that the boots on the ground people are given the credit that's due. So I just wanted to put that in, Mitch. And also, so the July 26th deadline, correct. That's coming up. We're working very hard. There's a lot of DPW staff that's in the process of doing some testing. They're also working on standard operating procedures and guidelines. And, the Kona-Kohala Chamber of Commerce is involved with this process. Specifically, Tom Arnold is helping us with doing some public outreach and coordination. So, we really appreciate that, we're getting some input from the community and the public, because the thing that we need to keep in mind, and we being the county, is that, this is, the end user is super important. We got to get the input from the community and the public, the people who are using these systems, because we're servicing you guys, and you guys is us too, right? We're a part of the community. So really appreciate that. And there will be some challenges coming up, and we're also going to do some public outreach, and yeah, we'll circle back with KKCC and get you guys help Dennis and Tom.
Okay, thank you. We have time for one more question, Wendy? Yeah. You're muted, Wendy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, one last question. Recently, we suggest the Chamber Task Force suggested to you that an advisory council or committee or whatever you want to call it for permitting be put together, and we're pleased that you picked us up on that. Have you had any further thoughts about what that committee or council might, the scope of that might be and how it might function?
For me, what I'm thinking is that this group is going to help us identify some of the issues. And, Dennis, we recently had a meeting with the permitting committee, and actually some of the heads of the permitting committee. And a lot of the issues I think that you were bringing up are some things that we're looking at as well already. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And so it's primarily going to be an advisory committee. And, hopefully we can address issues as they come up and, again, streamline the process. It's good for the people in the county to say what's going to go, what needs to be fixed, but it's even better having the community tell us what they see needs to be fixed.
Great. Thank you so much. I think it's time to head on to our next section. Thank you.
Thank you. Such an important topic. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Merrick. Thank you, Zendo. Sorry, we know technical difficulties happen, but we're looking forward to having more conversations. All right, so the next topic is homelessness. And so our moderators will be Natasha Alla from West Hawaii Community Health Center. She's our homelessness task force member, and I'll help with that. And then our panelists are the mayor, and then Police Chief Paul Ferreira, and Deputy Managing Director Bobby Command. We also have Housing Director Susan Coons here and Executive Assistant Jane Clement. So I'll start with the first question, and this is for Police Chief Ferreira. So first of all, and we said it a little bit earlier, but mahalo to Hawaii County Police Department for their presence and diligence with the homeless issues and associated crimes. The community police here in Kailua Village definitely have a presence. Their walking and bike patrols are making a big difference. So we really do want to make sure that we talk about the positive things as well. So thank you so much. But we know that some of our businesses are still experiencing problems with homelessness. So Chief Ferreira, can you explain a little bit more about Hawaii County's laws and enforcement in regards to loitering, panhandling, and trespassing? And it doesn't have to be detailed, but I think a lot of our businesses may not know exactly why it's different here in Hawaii.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks again, Wendy, for all those comments regarding our community policing officers in Kona. And that goes for the whole division out in Kona as well as the rest of the island. They're putting forward a lot of effort in addressing the issues with homelessness. And that question comes up quite often is regarding panhandling and loitering. As Hawaii County or the state does not have specific statutes that address that. Hawaii County does have a solicitation statute under Article 13 of the Hawaii County Code. However, you have to show that the panhandler is aggressively approaching someone or taking advantage of someone for you to enforce that section. So what our community policing officers process that we've undertaken is when we get called for someone homelessness on sidewalks or streets surrounding businesses like in downtown Kailua, we have to look at it a different way, and we have to look at it, are there other laws being violated? Are they drinking in public? Are they disorderly conduct? Because just being bodily odor offensive or talking to yourself really doesn't constitute crime. If it does, half a dozen people walk around downtown Hilo on their cell phones would get arrested. But so we have to look at different ways. So officers will respond. They'll look at identifying the person. Is there a warrant? Is there an arrest pending for this individual? When it comes to the businesses themselves, the businesses can trespass these individuals from within their shops, within their establishments. That is simply just informing the person that they're no longer allowed to be there. They're told them that they're not their presence is not wanted. Serve them with a document. Our officers will stand by, and the trespass can be for a year or however long. Normally, it's for 1 year that they're trespassed from a facility. Unfortunately, for public properties, sidewalks, parks, it's open to the general public, so the trespass laws do not apply. So again, we have to look at innovative ways, and our community policing officers in Kona has done a great job, as well as the rest of the island, and looking at different avenues that they can undertake to get the homeless off the streets, to include getting them services or help through the various service organizations, through Susan folks, getting housing, whatever needs to be done just to clean up the area.
Perfect. Thank you. And so thank you for that response. Really let us know exactly what we needed to know about that. And so the next is about services and facilities. And Natasha, you want to go ahead with the next question?
Sure. Thank you, Wendy. We want to thank the county for Kalamakua, the community of 18 tiny homes in Kailua, Kona, at the old Kona Airport that provides temporary emergency shelter to individuals and couples experiencing homelessness. This is an important facility to address short-term needs. How long can we count on this shelter to provide services?
Bobby, you still there?
Yes, I am. My understanding of this is that that shelter will be there until we open up the new facility across the street from the West Hawaii Civic Center. From what I understand, the buildings were built in order that they could be moved up there. So we're still working on, and I forgot the name of it, I'm sorry, across the street.
Kukuiola.
Yeah. And I think Susan might be able to give you a little update on that one.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I started to address the question and I realized that I was on mute. So this particular project, like you defined, was meant to be temporary. And I believe that the understanding with the community was that, it was number one, to address the coronavirus pandemic. So it was emergency in nature and temporary. So the plan is that once we have Kukui-Ola up and running, which I'll get into a timeline a little bit later, these units would be replaced, right? We currently are providing services at this facility there's funding through August. We've been obviously working very closely with Hope Services, who delivers the program services there. If there is a need to continue services for beyond August, I think there might be an opportunity to extend those contracts. We are looking at Kukui-Ola being up and running by the end of the year. So that's the timeline that we're working with.
And
Great.
if I could just add one more real quick thing. We fully understand that the old airport is a park, and that has an impact. That facility definitely has an impact on there. We kind of want to get the homeless people away from the park rather than bringing them down there. So I mean, again, we're fully aware of that. We're real sensitive to that, and we'd like to address that as soon as possible.
Great, thank you. And our second question is about Kukui-Ola and an update on that. And although we anticipated this project to be well underway by now, a variety of circumstances have created delays. Can you give us a status update on this project?
Yes, definitely. So we are currently working to satisfy conditions to the notice to proceed. And there are 3 of them. We just recently received an approval from SHPD for the removal of artifacts that were found on the property. So we're going to engage with a provider to go ahead and start the removal of those artifacts. We've also been working with Department of Fish and Wildlife to finalize comments to address the concerns to protect a uhi tree that is located near the property. So there's been some challenges, definitely, that has caused some of these delays. But being that those 2 have now been taken care of, we are currently working on subdivision approvals, which I am hoping we can get through by April, which will put us to construction, which we're anticipating about 6 to 8 months. And we're hoping to have the project up and running by the end of the year, by December.
Great. So another question. We support the $5 million CIP budget inclusion for Kukui-Ola. And can you give us an update on what that $5 million will cover with this project?
Yes. Thank you so much for your support on that. So let me try and give you a picture of Kukui-Ola. It is a 6-acre project, which the master plan calls for 4 phases. We are currently in the first phase of this project. The $5 million is going to go towards the construction of 16 units, an assessment center, which will provide 24/7 intake services. So not just for the people who are living on the property, but for the surrounding community as well. There's going to be a community center, kitchen facilities, green space with a dog park, parking areas. And those are, a manager's unit, a manager's unit and a security station. So, the first phase also includes a roadway that's coming from Kealakekee Highway all the way into the 6 acres, to the back of the 6 acres. But that's not part of the $5 million. I just wanted to let you know that we did get funding, $4 million from the state to do that roadway project, but it is a part of this first phase. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And in the short term, has the county considered a plan to assist families living in their vehicles until Kukui-Ola is done? Perhaps something like a safe parking area?
Yeah, that is a concept that we've been working on throughout the years. We have been successful in setting up safe parking coordination with our faith-based community on the east side. we've been trying to engage with the same out in West Hawaii, and I'll be very honest, we have not been able to get the same kind of support or buy-in. I'm still trying to work on that. The thing about safe parking is that we are focused on the families who are living in these cars, which means a lot of times there are children. So we have to be really careful about the facility that we're placing this at, and so on and so on. Kukui'ola also will include, it was our hope, I think there's about 50 parking stalls that are planned for Kukui'ola. And I think we were trying to coordinate some type of safe parking for that project as well. So if you have any suggestions or people that you know would be willing to work with us, I would love to hear about it.
Thank you. That was some really great information. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Susan. That was a lot more information than we've actually heard lately. So I'm really glad we had this opportunity. Thank you. Yeah, it's very hopeful and great news. So thanks again, Natasha. Thanks, Susan, and everyone on the panel. We're going to segue to our last panel discussion, which is the Sustainability Summit that the county conducted a couple weeks ago. And we're going to hear from Ilihia Johnson, and he's our Young Professionals Leadership Council co-chair. And we also have on the panel Mayor Mitch Roth, Executive Assistant Kate Logan, and Research and Development Deputy Director Solma Gandhi. And take it away, Ilihia.
Mahalo, Wendy. I'd like to shift gears now to an important topic. Right, this is important to the Young Professionals Leadership Council that I co-chair, and it's also really near and dear to my heart. And that topic is the future. What kind of future do we want for our keiki? What about their keiki? And what are we doing today to keep Hawaii Island the kind of place they can call home? On March 4th and 5th, Mayor Roth convened the Sustainability Summit with over 2,300 people registered, many more watching live and on demand on Naleo's website, as well as on the air. Among the summit sponsors who made that possible, Kona-Kohala Chamber members Engie, as well as Ali'i Circle member Hawaiian Electric, both working to secure Hawaii's clean energy future, as well as Hamakua MacNut Company, part of the Edmund Olson Trust family of businesses. I was honored to host the two-day summit. You can see the whole thing at naleo.tv. And today, we're going to talk with Kate Logan. She's Executive Assistant to Mayor Roth and Lead Advocate at the County for Sustainability. We're going to talk to Solma Gandhi, Deputy Director of Research and Development, as well as Mayor Roth, to get their highlights and takeaways from the summit. So we're almost out of time. We'll jump right into this. So Kate, aloha Kate, thanks for joining us today. As Mayor Roth's lead on sustainability, you were the heart behind this summit. Why was this important for the administration to convene, and what were your big takeaways?
Yeah, and thank you everyone for having us and talking about the summit. I think as everyone knows, Mayor Roth has stated that it's imperative for Hawaii County to advance our opportunities and build a more sustainable and resilient and equitable future for our island. So the 2 days was really jam-packed for those of you whom have watched it. Many of you attending this were either a part of it or were part of that 2,300 attendees. And those of you whom haven't watched it, as Ilihia said, you can watch it on demand at Naleo, and the link is on the county website. Really over the 2 days, we packed in 7 different keynotes and 14 different breakout sessions.
So I got to keep one eye on
and
this.
we're still working hard to digest and dissect all of the information, as there was quite a bit.
Either you close it or leave it open or whatever.
Excuse me real quick, Bobby.
Just went off. It
Bobby,
was,
you gotta mute, bro.
this is like the
cow. Bobby.
It's like,
Bobby,
hold on, I'm
Bobby,
here.
you gotta mute. You gotta mute.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Kate. Go ahead.
That's okay. So just to reiterate, the 2 days was really jam-packed. I'm getting a lot of emails daily about people who went back and rewatched specific sessions and their takeaways from it, right? I guess I'll just offer my takeaways and then I'll give the stage to the mayor. I saw some real common threads. And again, we're still putting together a report and where the county can really make some differences short-term and long-term. But I guess I'll start with the keynotes, and really clearly what we heard was how unique our island is, how diverse it is ecologically as well as culturally. And we have this deep history of systems thinking and indigenous knowledge, and we really need to take heed of that and care for it and preserve that. And so we have this really unique opportunity that was spoken about throughout all of the keynotes, a common thread. And it was also echoed between everyone at how we can be a global leader in sustainability. And for me in particular, you know, as I have to write reports, I've watched things over and over. And within the keynotes, it really resonated how Nainoa said Hawaii Island is the school of the earth. And then later on in the day, I think it was Hank Rogers who said, our island is a classroom to the world. And those are really big statements and bold statements that are true. And we have this amazing opportunity.
Now we kind of know where we stand with this.
So that was a little bit about the keynotes. And then the breakouts were very diverse. We had 14 breakouts. We had over 100 people participating, ranging from youth to subject matter experts on each panel. Again, you can go to our website and look at those breakouts, but they varied from food security, many of the topics that we talked about in today, right? As sustainability really is everything that we talk about. It's not just one issue. The term kind of encompasses everything. And so really, I guess my key takeaway from these breakout sessions was how imperative partnerships and education are to move forward. So that was really a common theme throughout each of those breakout sessions is partnering, partnering, partnering. And the county looks forward to partnering together. Finally, the third segment was a local to global aspect, right? And obviously, as the County of Hawaii, we're hyper focused on solutions and opportunities for our county here. But on a broader picture, sustainable development goals are global. And our last panel, we had an opportunity to have dignitaries along with Mayor Roth. We had the Hawaii Green Growth and Global Island Partners, GLISPA. And we were able to talk about the importance of islands and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And so I think the summit brought an opportunity to really dive deep into very specific needs for our island and our districts, and then highlight this opportunity to be a global leader, as well as bring awareness to what are the UN SDGs, what is Hawaii Green Growth and the dashboard and these benchmarks that we all have an opportunity, especially you business leaders, to take part in. So we're excited for where we go from here. We have quite a bit of ideas and movement, and looking forward to how we can partner with everyone.
Mahalo nui for that, Kate. It was similar to the summit, trying to pack so much into 2 days. We're trying to pack so much into our remaining minutes here today at this luncheon. Soma, I want to hop over to you just real quick. What were your top takeaways from the summit?
Mahalo, Ilihia, and the Kona-Kohala Chamber of Commerce for the invitation today. Takeaways. Well, sustainability means something different to every one of us. And we discovered in our 16 listening sessions we held around the island leading up to the summit that indeed was true. And as you heard, that the summit was a massive effort with 100 panelists and moderators and thousands of participants each day. And as a one of the sessions and an audience member for the keynotes and breakouts, I was left with a lot of hope. I was inspired by the commitment of our community and the participants to collaborate, coupled with our island pride around piloting and working together. I was heartened by how social equity was continually brought up as a permanent lens that we must employ in our decision-making. Our health and well-being is our collective kuleana and reflects our intentions and values of caring for one another. So I'm curious on how we might integrate into our culture these habits for sustainable practice. And those 2 days left me feeling humbled and honored to be around master storytellers who speak so lovingly about this island. Nainoa Thompson said in his keynote that Hawaii Island can be that global center for learning and innovation, a lighthouse. And when we think about the best environments in which to learn, to discover, to innovate, to pilot new initiatives, Hawaii Island is among the best in the world. Celeste Connors also spoke about the concept of third culture kid, which she likened to host culture kid and adult. And this unique identity is one of our top strengths that foster our ability to bridge. So our desire is to maintain momentum. Our department, the mayor's office, and the summit planning team are all working through the information and observations shared at the pre-listening sessions, in the summit breakout sessions, the questions and answers that came up throughout the chats, as well as the feedback that we've been receiving. And with all of that, we're hoping to identify actionable items to work on. So the Sustainability Summit was the launching point on our journey to a more sustainable Hawaii Island. Mahalo.
Mahalo to you, Soma, and the hard work of the R&D team, the mayor's office team, the community volunteers who are on the committee that planned the summit, and Kate, to you for your leadership. I want to toss it over to the man of the hour and a half, our mayor, to just offer some closing thoughts about why this summit was so important to you. Mayor Roth?
You know, real briefly, this is the roadmap to how we keep our kids on our island, how we allow our kids to raise their families here. And, you know, it was an opportunity for us to listen and to partner, just like we're doing here today. And we want to thank you for, you know, for this opportunity. The other thing that this summit did is it put us on a world stage and positioned us for great things in the future. One of the things that John DeFries talked about is creating a global sustainability center. And we're, you know, it's a lofty goal. I was talking to Kate about this the other day, about $20 million in private and public funds, but it's something that we believe we can do, and that will be there in Kona. I'm, you know, not going to say if, I'm going to say it will be there in Kona, hopefully in the next 4 years, but you know, it put us on a world stage. And I want to thank you. And again, I know that we're at the end of our hours. Apparently my my cabinet has a lot to say. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to say it.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. So that was definitely ending on a high note. Thank you, Ilahia. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Solma. Those were wonderful comments. Appreciate it greatly. So I'm just going to take us home. We just have a few more things to let you guys know. So we do have next week a West Hawaii vaccination update from our members, West Hawaii Community Health Center, Ali'i Health Center, and Kona Community Hospital. We're just going to take an hour and give you guys an update about what's going on here with vaccinations. And then I want to make sure we end on another high note. We've got some prize giveaways. So members have donated. We have Altris, Barnett Consulting, Cyanotech, Hawaii Sanctuary, Mauna Kea Resort, the Westin, Hapuna Beach Resort, Jack's Diving Locker, KTA, and Hawaii Water Service, along with Hawaii Community Federal Credit Union. So thank you all for donating. And here's the prizes. We've got this nice little thing here. I've pulled the names, so I'm just gonna let you know. So let's see here. Kimberly Kobayashi with Community First. You have won 3 coaching sessions with Barnett Consulting. Anna White, you from Protection for Humanity, you have won a goodie basket packet from Cyanotech filled with all kinds of great stuff. And Jason Cohn from Hawaii Forest and Trail, you have won a $25 gift certificate to Poi Dog Deli. And we'll send all this stuff to you guys. Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear you. Yeah, let's hear some woohoos. All right. And we have got another $25 gift certificate to Kona Grill House from Hawaii Community Federal Credit Union. And that's going to go to Jim Lee from Kona Community Hospital. All right. And so, oh, I better keep these in. I have to remember who I told what. All right. Lydia, write this down for me, please. And then next, we've got a $25 gift certificate to Laulima Food Patch from Hawaii Community Federal Credit Union going to Laura Varney. Laura Varney, Hospice of Kona. All right. And now the next, Hawaii Water Service, also donating $25 gift certificates. This goes to Kona Crust, the gift certificate, and that's going to go to Susan Moss with Trans-Pacific Designs. Susan gets the Kona Crush. And
Thank
then
you.
Pueos. Yeah, right. And then Hawaii Water Service also has done Pueos, and that is going to be going to Keoho Shopping Center, Colleen DeMello. You're going to Pueos. And just actually backtrack, Susan, you're getting that from Hawaii Community Federal Credit Union, that $25 gift certificate to Kona Crest. And the next one goes to Mindy Dent, Fairwind Cruises, and it's also a gift certificate to Pueos, and that's from Hawaii Water Service. And Lava Lava Beach Club, $25 gift certificates. Yeah, $25 gift certificates going to Hawaiian Electric, David Kurihara, and that's from Hawaii Water Service. And Hawaii Water Service, another $25 gift certificate to Lava Lava Beach Club, and that's going to go to Julie Rose with Makani Golf Club. All right, almost done. This just shows you how generous our members are. They are awesome. So we've got a few more to go, so stay tuned. Yeah, a couple more folks. So we've got a Try Scuba in the pool from Jack's Diving Locker going to Christina Alves with Academy Mortgage. All right. And Lydia, please be writing these down for me. I can't keep going. All right. Next, we've got Dean Fouquet, Hawaii Medical Service Association, HMSA. He gets a $20 gift certificate from our sponsor, KTA Superstores. KTA Superstores, $20 gift certificate for Dean, $20 gift certificate for Peggy. Peggy with Hawaii Community Federal Credit Union. Peggy Shirako. Yep. All right. And also another one of our sponsors, Hawaii Community Federal Credit Union. And then we've got another KTA Superstore $20 gift certificate to Tom Leonard. Tom Leonard, member Tom Leonard. And we've also got another $20 gift certificate going to Wilbert Lee with King's Land by Hawaiian Grand Vacations Club, a KTA Superstores $20 gift certificate. And we have another one going to, let's see, that's all we've got for gift certificates. And we've got Ultra Staffing. That's going to go to Crystal Yamasaki, West Thomas and Associates. And we've also got Bill McCowett, Hale Hawaii Design. You've got dinner for two at Meridia Restaurant at the Hapuna. Woo! Yeah, one of the grand prizes. And then last but not least, we're going to pick one more person that is here today with us. Let me just make sure. One last gift that would make sense here. We have got Pam Latinas, Venture Sotheby's, International Realty. Pam Latinas, you won the spa gift basket from Hawaii Sanctuary, one of our new members. And that's it for gifts. Here. Woo! Yay! So anyway, lots of fun here. So we're getting back. We're going to be the Chamber of Fun. We are the Chamber of Fun. We're going to have some fun. We're going to see each other face to face soon. And so we really appreciate everybody on the call today. We had over 111 people here to be with us, to hear our new mayor, Mayor Mitch Roth. Thank you so much for being here and letting us know what's up, because you guys really shared a lot of great information. And again, just one last shout out to our sponsors, Hawaii Community Federal Credit Union, KTA Superstores, and Hawaii Water Service. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here. We're going to go ahead and end our meeting.
Thanks, Wendy.
Hello. Thanks, Wendy.
All right.
Mahalo.
All right, thank you guys.
Hello. Looking forward to doing this in person.
Absolutely.